The Five Challenges Unanswered by Bill Cooke from the February-March 2026 issue of Free Inquiry. In the August-September 2024 issue of Free Inquiry, I posed 5 challenges to proponents of the myth theory of Jesus in a bid to move the argument on 5 challenges to Christ myth theorists. The article attracted several replies. The one submitted by Don Warrington is the most recent. As with the previous responses, no serious attempt has been made to answer the challenges and place the myth theory on a sound, academically tenable footing. In the interests of space, let us see what Warrington has to say to each challenge. Warrington claims his response constitutes an awesome setup for the mythicist case. Challenge number 1. Why should we ignore the majority consensus of Jesus scholarship around the world and pay attention to a few mythicists operating, for the most part, outside the academy? Warrington misunderstands this challenge, being content with what some opinion polls suggest. He spends no time explaining why mythicism has no foothold in academic literature. Why, for example, is mythicism rarely mentioned in the Journal for the Study of the Historical Jesus, beyond being problematic and unpersuasive? So this challenge remains unanswered. Challenge number 2. Belief in the mythical Jesus is restricted to a minority of American humanists and is not shared by most humanists anywhere else in the world. Warrington pays no attention to this challenge either. Fixating on the myth theory helps to isolate American humanism from the mainstream around the world at precisely the time such divisions should be avoided. Challenge number 3. The myth theory not only indulges in, but relies on serious fallacies and flaws in logic. Warrington repeats most of the common errors and fallacies myth theorists are prone to. Much of his article is devoted to a labyrinthine exploration of dying and resurrected gods that few people deny. Except in evangelical seminaries, no one denies the paucity of references to Yeshua outside the New Testament. Nobody denies that Paul created Christianity and added gobs of theology quite inimical to Yeshua's Jewish view of the world. Paragraph after paragraph of this stuff, most of which is not in question but is quite beside the point. At one point, Warrington admits, a Jesus of some sort may still be important in the founding of Christianity. In one sentence, all the previous lengthy historical disquisition becomes redundant. Warrington repeats the core mythicist failure of logic when he concludes that, because it is replete with contradictions, evasions, and later theological accretions, the New Testament must be entirely without historical value. This is a simple non sequitur, an entry-level flaw in logical thinking. Evangelicals make the simple mistake of presuming every word of the New Testament is absolutely true. Mythicists make the equal and opposite error of assuming every word of it is absolutely false. They are parroting the literal either-or world of the fundamentalist. Proper historians take a document, assess its context, and sift through it for kernels of objective fact. The only people who depart from this practice are evangelicals and mythicists, who are their mirror doubles. Once again, I am forced to reiterate, absence of evidence does not provide evidence of absence. Challenge number 4. The myth theory adds nothing useful by way of response to what many theologians are actually saying now. Ever since Geza Vermes's work Jesus the Jew, 1973, the third quest for the historical Jesus has looked to recover Yeshua ben Yosef's essential Jewishness. The consequences of reclaiming Yeshua's Jewishness are far more serious for Christianity than spurious arguments about non-historicity. That mythicists cannot or will not understand this is a problem for the humanist movement. To argue for total non-historicity is, at best, to miss the point of half a century of cross-disciplinary scholarship. Myth theory hasn't really emerged from the shadow of the first quest for the historical Jesus, which concluded more than a century ago. They have nothing worthwhile to add to the debate being conducted today. Warrington's argument is not fully coherent. His early concession of the probable historicity of a Jew called Yeshua is then completely upended when he extols Jesus as a pure myth. This incoherence is not peculiar to Warrington. It is built into the myth argument, which cannot help but be sterile. Challenge number 5. By mirroring the literalism of the evangelicals, mythicist arguments are implicated, however unintentionally, in the same casual anti-Semitism. Not only does Warrington make no attempt to respond to this challenge, he illustrates it by acknowledging the probable existence of a Jewish man called Yeshua, only then to bury him in screeds of post facto contextualizing. He is, in effect, doing exactly what the evangelicals do. They smother Yeshua in layers of theology to create a Christian Jesus. Mythicists smother Yeshua with layers of late 19th century mythology to create a mythical non-being. Both processes are intent on robbing Yeshua of his Jewish historical context, and as such, are latent exercises in anti-Semitism. This is shameful and something humanists should have no part of. Warrington's case, such as it is, has failed. None of my challenges have been refuted or even fully answered. The myth theory is a shackle around the neck of the humanist movement, one that impedes our progress elsewhere. It is the embarrassing relative who turns up at events and ruins things for everyone else. If the humanist movement is going to survive, let alone prosper, in an environment as hostile as the present, we need to be rid of poorly argued exercises in wish fulfillment that embarrass our cause and deflect attention from many of the other areas where our case is stronger. Extolling mythicism is like defending phrenology in an age of neuroscience. Thank you for listening to this audio edition of Free Inquiry, the journal for secular humanist ideas. If you enjoyed this article, consider subscribing to Free Inquiry magazine to explore more thought-provoking content on reason, ethics, science, and free thought. You can find more articles, subscribe, or support our work at secularhumanism.org. There you'll also discover resources on secular humanism, information on upcoming events, and ways to connect with a community of like-minded thinkers. If you believe in the importance of reason, free expression, and humanist values, consider making a donation to support our work. Every contribution helps us continue to publish, advocate, and provide resources for a more rational, secular world. Once again, thanks for listening and for supporting free inquiry, free minds, and free expression.